But the someone who is the love person, he wants something that he can identify with. To identify with, it must be permanent. So you see, it depends what kind of character you are. Do you build a person which is a love person or the passion person? The passion person needs all the time new or strong, and he's bored. The love person would get much more excited because he's identifying with the thing. So everything he does, he doesn't do just with his body. He identifies. He puts his personality in it. Then, with a lower stimulus, he can get much more excited. We all understand that. Actually, we're all looking for love. Why do we look for love? Because we all have these two parts in ourselves. And we want to express them. And we want that both of them would work in communication. Because I could say, well, let's have passion here, and I would have some, philosophical, some philosophy friends, I don't know what, somewhere else. No. We want it together. We want that it to be physical and mental together. Why? Because it should be together. That's a clue for pleasure. Because in ourselves we have a body and a soul. In ourselves we want to combine and unite it. That's what we apply to the word. We want it to be together. That's why we have the basic drive for love. Because this basic drive for love, this is the basic drive of ourselves, because what we are is two parts, and our basic drive is to unite ourselves, and through love we really unite ourselves. And that's why we're so happy that we're not knowing what we do, but that's what we're doing when we love properly. So we came to the second stage of the I, but this is not enough. Judaism tells you need one step higher, not just a high. You need to involve the spirit as well. You have another center, which is your spirit. What is your spirit? Just to exemplify it, in your senses, you can enjoy good food. In your eye, you can enjoy, belonging, love, etc. In your spirit, you enjoy when you do valuable things. You have values. You're proud of yourself that you do the right thing. This is another kind of pleasure. The pleasure that comes out of values. Very interesting, psychologically speaking. They tried different methods to rehabilitate addicts. Medically, they managed to do very well. But the problem is that even if they succeeded, more than 90% would go back later on to drugs. Why? Why is it that they would go back? The problem is memory. Unfortunately, even if he's not addicted anymore, he still remembers the pleasure which he had. Now he goes to life. What life has to offer him? Success, money, whatever it is. Now this memory, this pleasure now, has to compete with the memory which he had, and fails. No pleasure this society can offer can compete with the memory of drugs. So therefore, because he tasted drugs, he's in trouble. This memory chases him for the rest of his life, because everything he does has to be compared. And he feels there is no way any pleasure can compete with this memory. So what can we do? And they found a fantastic way, which is done all over the world today. And rather than having a success between 5 and 10%, now they have about 70% success. We must give him a pleasure which is higher than the pleasure society offers him. Do you know of any pleasure of this sort? Only spiritual pleasure. So they found the only way to rehabilitate, really on the large scale, addicts is to give them spiritual pleasure. I don't know if you heard about it. It's called the 12 steps method, right? And they train them to have relationship with God and so on. I'm not talking now about meaning of it and truth of it. I'm talking as a psychologist now. And I say, look, it's fantastic. That means that the pleasure and satisfaction of relating to God properly is higher than drugs, is higher than any pleasure that this society can offer. This is fantastic. So if we have such a fantastic source of pleasure in ourselves, why it should be given only to addicts? I'm not an addict. Don't I deserve this kind of pleasure? If I have such a fantastic potential of pleasure, I want it. But we don't know how to use it, how to release this fantastic energy. Let's learn. Some people might say, why do I need spiritual pleasure? I can handle without it. Besides that, this is the strongest pleasure of all. I want to show you a few examples. What's the difference if you relate to the world with your personality only or with your values as well? I'll tell you two little stories. I had a friend. We finished the Technion together and we went to America. I went to Canada, he went to New York. After a few years, I came back to Israel and he stayed in New York, and now we have a very nice position there as a professor. And he used to be an extremely Zionist person, devoted to the country, unbelievable. He worked for the Ministry of Defense before we came to America. So I asked him, why do you stay? Your country needs you. Come back. Go to the Ministry of Defense. Would accept you. They need the talents. And he told me a very interesting story. He said, before we came to America, I was head of some project to develop anti-aircraft, missiles, anti-aircraft missiles. It was really a real breakthrough. We worked for 5 years on that. And we managed to build it, and it worked. Fantastic, the first type worked. Then our delegates to America sat with Americans negotiating and said, we managed to develop our missile of this sort. So the Americans says, all right, now once you know to do it yourself, we're ready to sell you ours. That's the way usually, they didn't want to escalate, the weapons in the Middle East, but once you have it yourself, we're ready to sell it to you. So they sold us their type, which was much more advanced. So they took all my work, closed it in some nice closet. We made a small party, we drank l'chaim, and that's it. And 5 years of my life are buried in this closet. I cannot take it. I told him, now understand. You work with your eye. You want success. In these terms, you feel you did nothing. But if you'd work with your values, you would want it to help Israel. You worked very hard for 5 years. So Israel should benefit 5 years of work. Benefited 10 years of work, right? They got much better missile. So if you'd work with your values, you would be so proud. You'd be so happy. But if you work just with the need of success, you're frustrated. You see, it's a very small example of many, many cases in our life. What's the difference if you work with your eye or with your spirit? I'll give you another example. Marriage. Some people think that love, this is a basic and sufficient thing to build marriage. Judaism says no. Judaism says that it's not enough to love. It's important, it's crucial, but it's not enough. There should be something else. When someone decides to get married, he says, not only that I love you, but I have an ideal to love you. I have an ideal to build our marriage. I have an ideal to build our love. Why do I ever need to have the ideal? Isn't it enough I love you? Let's analyze it. Let's assume someone, is motivated by love. That's his motivation, point. Now let's look at him. If something happens and the love is decreasing because of different reasons, will they invest less or more in the marriage now? Less. When he invests less, what would he get back? Less. When he gets less, what would happen to his own love now? Goes down. Then he would invest less. Pang, 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 pang. My wife is a marriage consultant, and we see it very clearly. Now let's look at someone else. Beside of love, he has an ideal to build the marriage and the love. And he looks at himself and he sees that the love goes down. Would he invest more or less? More. You see the difference? Such a very simple thing. What happens if you just work with your eye, or you have a higher part of yourself that has values and has ideal and uses love? We use love. It's not that I am my love. I use my love to elevate and grow, and if it's going down, it's the same that I invest in my body. I invest in my love. It's very important, but it's not me. Me is my values, is my ideals. But I'm using my emotions, and sometimes I have to invest in them and cure them and deal with them, because there is a much higher part which is leading this story, which is my values. If you don't understand that, you would behave differently in many areas of his life. You would talk differently to his secretary, right? Just because he wants to retain the sensitivity of his marriage. Once he has, he might have a too beautiful secretary. Some secretaries happen to be beautiful. What can we do about it? But he knows that if he has such a secretary would keep distance, would talk, would keep a lot of distance. Because it's very important for him, his love and his marriage. We usually don't understand it. We think, nothing is wrong. Yes, nothing is wrong. But if you invest your values, invest your ideals, not just your emotions, your whole attitude would be different in many, many areas of your life. All right. Now understand the importance of our spirit in our life. So our spirit is not just important for the next world. It's not just a tool for morality. This is really the basic tool that we should deal with the world with. Okay, now let's learn some more about these parts. The senses, the eye, and our spirituality. Spirit. Now, combining the senses and the eye, we saw that there lies the root of excitement. Because remember the NBA, if I know to combine my body and my personality, that's the root of excitement. Fine. If I combine properly the eye and the spirit, then my self-esteem, that I'm worthy, would not come from society, but rather from inside. That's a big difference. If I know that I'm worthy, know that I'm worthy because of my values, and not because you tell me, it makes all the difference. A lot of people act and do a lot of things just because they need confirmation from society and people. But someone with very strong and firm values, he can do what he wants. He's not scared and he's not dependent on anyone in the world. He's free. Do you understand what this means? He's free. That's what means freedom. Now, what I want now is to learn how to combine the last part. Remember, the key to pleasure is to unite. So we know to unite the senses and the eye. Remember, this is excitement. We know to unite the eye and the spirit, but now we want to know to unite the senses and our spirit. How can we do that? In order for that, we have to learn more about the different way our senses act and our spirit act. What's the difference between the way we experience pleasure with our senses and the way we experience pleasure with our spirit? In our senses, the pleasure does not accumulate. You had a good meal last year. How was it? It's gone. It's gone with the wind. We might remember that, and later on would come that this memory might cause even frustration when we don't have it anymore. But we cannot enjoy it again. What you had it, and that's it. It's over. This is one. Secondly, remember, our sensitivity is decreasing, right? If you work with your senses, right? This is a problem. The third part is aging. If someone is real goal and career in life is pleasure and physical pleasure, he was born in the wrong way. He should have been born an old man and get younger all the time. When you come there, when you have the chance to be born, they ask you, do you want to get from this gate or this gate? We should have asked to get to this world in another gate. We just were wrong. It's very frustrating. You want to get more and more pleasure, and you're going down. What can you do about it? And the fourth thing is memory. Memory causes frustration. Why? Because look at that. Our pleasure does not accumulate. Our senses decreasing. Right? Sensitivity decreasing. We are aging and we're going down. But unfortunately, we do remember what we had. If we would not remember, it would be much better. But we remember, and we have to compare what we have now with what we used to have. This is not good. One of the troubles of marriage is that people get married young, and they get older, and they remember that they used to be young. That's really a problem.